taco. Like,
no, I'm gonna do fish tacos with mango salsa.
I don't eat anything sweet, so I just wouldn't put the mango salsa on there.
Corn salsa is cool. Corn salsa.
I say I think you should put it on the side so people could use it or not.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. Listen, I've got a special video for you guys. I want to talk about this situation on Never Ever METS between Ervin and Alicia, sorry. And what was really powerful about this situation, I said it's Ervin, sorry, Ervin and Alicia. And the situation between the two of them is she has come across as very bossy, somebody who's domineering almost in a sense, and then she claims it's a personality trait of hers. And I want to say this first and foremost. When I watched this particular video, which we're going to break down all the way through, when I watched it, I saw somebody who was failing to take accountability because they've made something that is a trait, their personality trait. It's very different. Like something can be a personality trait, something can be a trait. And I believe that she has made the two together. But I really think that's because she's failing to really be able to be vulnerable. And see, when you're not vulnerable and you're afraid of being vulnerable, you set up defense mechanisms for yourself in order not to experience vulnerability because you're afraid that you'll be exposed. And in your being exposed, you'll be abandoned, rejected, or you'll be betrayed. And because of those fears, it takes us down a place where we begin to behave in a way that is not in alignment with what would bring about a healthy relationship. So in this scene where we're seeing them cooking and she's telling him what to do, almost in a sense, there is an aspect of her being bossy, which to later on she ends up saying, it's my personality trait. It is who I am, almost like accept me for who I am. And in reality, she's unwilling to grow. She's unwilling to change. But I think it's because she is somebody who I believe is a fearful avoidant. Yes, I talk about attachment styles a lot on this channel. And if you don't know what that is simply an attachment style, meaning that is the way that we emotionally bond in relationships. It's something that was coined by John Bowlby, a British psychologist, who speaks about how we attach in our childhood to our caregivers and then how we deal with separation anxiety. For the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to focus on fearful avoidant. And I think he's a much more secure person. If you see the way that he handles things, the way he pulls her aside, the way he has a conversation, the way he doesn't have to shout, scream, the way he doesn't take things to the absolute extreme, is somebody who's probably a bit more secure in the way that he attaches in relationships. But our good sis here seems to be of a fearful avoidant kind of background, where she is almost like hot and cold, and she at points struggles with being able to be open, seems very overstimulated and overwhelmed. And when you show any signs of deferring or any signs of being upset with her, she then flips the script onto you, which is something that fearful avoidance can do when they feel unsafe. And it's not because you did anything per se. They feel unsafe because they feel like when you are saying something against them, that now they're about to be rejected, abandoned, or betrayed. So they have to flip it onto you. And if they flip it onto you, then you're the issue. You know what I mean? Then you're the issue. I'm going to get you before you get me kind of thing. Okay, so I think this is a really massive video I'm going to do because I really want to be able to touch this. I'm going to go very slowly through every single point of this video so we can actually really break it down all the way. So if you're new to the channel, then welcome. And if you are somebody who has been here before, then you already know what it is. Stay hydrated. You already know Mineral Gang. We're out here to always help you guys grow, transform, and to heal. Okay, so let's get into this video. Let's go to the very beginning. And let's start this particular video. I'm going to go each point by point. And I want you to listen to the words, and I'll repeat them for you as well so that we can actually begin to really break down why this actual situation happens. Let's play the first few seconds.
All right, I'll cook.
You should do like a Caribbean taco. Like,
no, I'm going to do fish tacos with mango salsa.
I don't eat anything sweet, so I just wouldn't put the mango salsa on there.
Corn salsa is cool.
Okay, let's pause it right here. I know it was a little bit fast, but the first thing that's actually happened in this situation is that she said, you should. I want to make it very clear. She said, you should do a mango, whatever, right? And he says, hey, I'm going to do a mango salsa. Now we have an instant clash because first and foremost, between men and women, I'm going to say this very clearly because I'm going to blend in some other themes as well into the space, right? First and foremost, the you should is the issue. You should, between men and women, especially, it grates men when they find women trying to command them or demand of them. Okay, you should isn't really a suggestion. It's actually letting you know that this is what you should be doing. Like this is right and this is wrong. And this is simply about an issue around the cooking because he had an idea already in his head. So in that space, she goes, "You should," and he goes, "Oh, I'm gonna do a mango salsa. Like I'm gonna do a mango salsa. You know, a mango taco salsa, whatever." And then she goes, because some people might not like it. But really, truly, the some people might not like it isn't about anybody else. It's about her. Let's listen.
Anything sweet, so I just wouldn't put the mango salsa on there.
Ooh,
If
corn
you're on
sauce is
side,
Go back a little
mango
bit.
salsa.
I don't eat anything sweet, so I just wouldn't put the mango salsa on there.
Ooh,
If
corn
you're on
sauce is
Let's pause it right here. She says, I don't eat anything sweet. So I wouldn't put the salsa on there. Okay? Which is fine. So here's what should have happened, right? In this aspect of conversation, rather than saying you should or saying this and that, rather than then just be honest. This is where fifth level sometimes fall. Instead of being directly honest and saying what you actually want, she went around it. Now we've seen this before because she's been in a cooking situation before with another couple, but she went around it because again, with fearful avoidance, what they struggle with is the aspect of being able to have a voice. So sometimes they can go either end. They can go really sharp or they can go really passive aggressive. Right? So because sometimes they haven't got a balance, and this is fearful avoidance, dismissives, anxious people, anybody who's got an insecure attachment, they don't always have a balance. But we're discussing fearful avoidance specifically. They can struggle with having a voice. So what can end up happening is, especially if you've worked in a career where you are a very more dominant person, that it now becomes what we call your barometer of how you speak. But when you put that into a relationship, now you come across as somebody who's domineering and dominating, and you also come across as rude. So in that space where she's now saying you should, she's actually directing him. You're not at work, number one, and number two, this is your partner. So you should, in this scenario, when he already has an idea in his mind about what he wants to do, is actually now dismissing his idea. Now, anything between men and women, I'm going to make this very clear. Between men and women, how important this is. Whether you're fearful of it or not, makes no difference, right? Between men and women, what men really value about women and what they value as having a partner is somebody who also supports their ideas. And I'm sure women will say the same thing, but we're talking specifically about the men and the women, right? Men really value women that support their ideas. Now, you don't have to agree with it, but it's the way you disagree with it. She didn't disagree with it. She just said, you just need to do something else. If it was me, I wouldn't do it that way. But just say that, okay, I love your idea. And here's something I'm gonna break down for you guys, right? Into this thing. Let me if I can actually even see. I would have brought it onto the screen. I should have actually put this onto the screen so you guys can actually see my notes as well. And you would have been able to kind of see where I was going with it. So when she says, obviously, you should replace you should with actually you saying rephrasing it, what we call reframing. Okay, so we don't want a command. Okay, rather we want suggestions. So she could have said, have you thought about, or what about trying this? That would have been a different way of deriving the conversation. When you go to you should, it's a command. At that point, people don't want to listen to you. They feel like you're trying to overtake them and you're trying to control them. Funnily enough, fearful avoidance hate being controlled. So the very thing that they don't like, they're now doing. And it's because they haven't found a balance and they haven't found the words to necessarily reframe it. So like I said, fearful avoidance can fall on two spectrums. Sometimes they can be very, very harsh, or they can go the opposite way where they're just like a lamb. It's just very almost passive, right? And so in this space, she has gone with a command. And a better way of doing it would have been just a suggestion to say, hey, you know what? I don't particularly like sweet things. Can you put some of that salsa aside without the sweetness? Doesn't that sound much different? Rather than saying you should do this, because what she was doing was controlling him, she was trying to say you should do it this way because other people might not like sweet. When the truth is, she doesn't like sweet. She wasn't thinking about anybody else. Rather than being direct, she was passive with it. And it was all about what she actually wanted. And that's okay. If you don't want the salsa with the sweetness, just say that. Say, great idea. I love this. I love the mango with the salsa. But you know what? For me personally, I don't like the sweetener on it. Could you put some aside for me without the sweetener on it? And then he can go, yeah, sure, no problems. And why would he not respond positively? Because you've asked in a positive manner. You've still supported his idea, and you have also suggested that you would want it separate. Why would he not want to do that? You know what I'm saying to you? If he don't like you. Let's play some more. Okay. All right. So it's important to make sure that when we're delivering certain things, we're delivering away. And this would have helped their relation and bring them together. Right now, we're kind of getting ourselves into a place of separation. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's get to the next part.
It's cool. Want salsa?
I said I think you should put it on the side so people could use it or not. I'll eat a little bit.
Right.
I
But
don't think you should not cook it because one person doesn't want it.
no, I get it.
Ervin, is this your first?
Now let's pause it right here. I need to put the words on so you guys can actually see it because you probably can't see it. What she said here was, and I think it's a very important point of what he did. She said, I don't think you shouldn't cook it just because of one person. I don't know if he said he wasn't going to cook it or what, but she's absolutely right. He should not cook it. Now, this is really important. Here, I'm going to tell you why it's important. Her saying don't stop on my account. The reason why it's important is because fearful avoidance, one of the things that they struggle with is boundaries. So when they get into relationships, they actually look for people who have strong boundaries. So if that person now has weak boundaries, they now begin to start feeling unsafe in the relationship. Because a lot of them lack good, effective boundaries, don't have a voice, what they're really hoping for is they have somebody who can advocate for themselves. Because if they can advocate for themselves and they care about you, they can advocate for them. Let me go backwards so you can actually hear it again, just so you're hearing it as well. Okay, guys? Okay, so you can actually hear it.
No, I get it.
Ervin, is this your first rodeo?
No, it's not. I'm slowly starting to realize, like,
Oh, hold on.
I
Sorry.
get it.
Let me go back.
I'll eat a little bit.
Right.
I
But
don't think you should not cook it because one person doesn't want it.
no, I get it.
Ervin.
So again, the what she said was, I don't think you should not cook it just because of one person. She's the one person. Okay? So she's almost kind of, she's saying in the sense of, like, don't stop what you're doing just because on my account. Don't stop on my account, which is good. Nobody should be stopping anything based on their account like that. You know what I mean? But really and truly, the reason why the fearful avoidant will say something like that is, again, because fearful avoidants sometimes lack boundaries. And so because of their difficulty with boundaries, what they look for in other people is a strong boundary and a strong voice. Because there can't be two of us with weak boundaries. You understand what I'm saying to you? So what they're looking at is, if I then date somebody who's got stronger boundaries, they'll keep me in check because here's what the problem with the fearful avoidant is. They believe they're not good. There's an inherent distrust of themselves. They don't feel like they're always good. They feel like they can be bad. They feel like they're quote unquote will do bad things and can be evil sometimes. This is some of the thoughts that a fearful avoidant will have due to their upbringing and what they've experienced, right? So what ends up happening is that voice, they're thinking, if somebody has better boundaries, they can keep me in check, right? So if I be bad, they can call me out. They can, keep me safe, right? And if they can do that, have boundaries, it also means other people can't come and take advantage of me because my partner has boundaries and has a voice. So sometimes, I'm not saying she was even doing it here, sometimes fearful avoidance will actually test your boundaries because what they're really trying to see is this person going to speak up or are they going to conform? Because if they're going to conform, then I'm really not safe because they can't speak up for me either. I can't do it already, and now they can't do it either. Are we in trouble? Okay. Let's get to another part of this. Okay. So I want you to pay attention to something also, right? Because her body language is important here.
So people could use it or not. I'll eat a little bit.
Right.
I
But
don't think you should not cook it because one person doesn't want it.
no, I get it.
Ervin, is this your first rodeo?
No, it's not.
So if Alicia was actually paying attention, properly paying attention, she would notice the body language is shifting from Ervin. His body language, his facial expressions, he's looking at her in a certain way because she's got her head down and she's probably focused on a task. And I'll be honest with you, I would say that a lot of fearful avoidance, they know what they're doing. Okay? Just like everybody else knows what they're doing most times. But let's give them benefit of the doubt. She's not paying attention, so because she's not paying attention and she's involved with another task, the conversation that she's having now is actually affecting her partner. And within that, he's having body language responses to what's being said. Okay. All right. And in that space, she's not seeing that she's having an adverse effect on him. She's not paying attention because she's focused on what she's focused on. And so actually she's going to miss some of the cues that are coming from a partner. Now, if you're somebody who's in a relationship, you do want to be able to pay attention to the cues, not only what's being said, but also the nonverbal. They say that nonverbal communication makes up to 70% of communication. Therefore, if you're not looking at the person, and one thing I've noticed about fearful avoidance and dismissive avoidance, by the way, is that oftentimes they can be caught up in something else when they're having certain conversations, right? For instance, they could be on their phone. Maybe they are cooking. Maybe they're watching TV. Maybe they're doing something else which is preoccupying them. And so they're having a conversation, but they're not fully involved. And so when that happens, you miss vital cues. And to have a conversation that is beneficial, there are going to be needs for you to pay attention on a non-verbal basis. So if you're somebody that's fearful avoidant, if you know you're having conversations with your partner, ask yourself the key question: am I actually present, or am I ready in the future or in the past? If you're somebody who's fearful avoidant, you've got to really be present in that moment, participating. But what I find sometimes with fearful avoidance, and it's not because they're being bad, it's not because they're being rude per se, is that they don't realize that their participation includes them non-verbally. That they'll tell you, I am listening, by the way, but they're doing something else. When you start doing something else, you actually aren't really listening at your fullest capacity. What you're doing is you're trying to do two things at once. And whilst I do believe people can multitask, what ends up happening is you're not paying attention, you will miss vital details, and then you argue later on from a place where you've missed vital details. Oh, I don't remember that. Did you say that? I don't remember you said that. And now there can't actually be a viable conversation because you actually generally don't remember because you weren't listening. So if you're somebody who's fearful, avoidant, or even dismissive, it's vitally important when conversations like this are happening, you are actually present. Stop being on your phone. Stop doing something else. Put everything away, everything, and focus on that conversation. Now, of course, they were cooking, so slightly different in the situation, but it's just something I've just noticed, and I want to make sure that anybody who's a fearful, avoidant will put that on there as well.
I'm slowly starting to realize, like, Alicia, she thinks she's a boss.
Why don't you get some chips?
Everybody knows where the chips are at. I don't want
Just pull out some classic chips.
You don't have to tell me what to do.
Again, we're back here again with the commands again once more. And of course, I'm sure that he is probably feeling some type of way. So maybe that's why she said, obviously, we should get, get some chips or whatever. And he said, obviously, I think everybody knows what the chips are. All right. And then she doubles down by saying, everybody loves classic chips. And again, it's just a further exasperation. I don't think necessarily there wasn't anything per se that was ultimately wrong. I mean, but it was the get the chips. That was probably the issue again. And again, it's a compounding interest.
Everybody knows where the chips are at.
Just pull out some classic chips.
You don't have to tell me what to do. Let me just try to handle it. I really need to talk.
So at that point where she's now said, just get out she's not being necessarily rude per se. It's more of a case of she's in her command bag once more again, just get out the chips. And what she doesn't realize is that she's actually now in a place of authority. When you start issuing commands, you put yourself in a place of authority. And that instantly makes a power dynamic happen between you and another person. And that other person can feel the power shifting in the relationship. Okay, so she has to really surrender herself to paying attention to the way that she comes across. It is the word choice that she's talking about. Okay, so in this word choice, that's where you're having the issues. The selection of words in the phraseology is where you're falling prey because you are trying to boss the person around. And you're trying to direct the person, and it's because you don't have balance. You don't know how to ask in a kind way. You don't know how to actually deliver it in a better way. See, people who know how to do better, do better. You might know that you should do it better, but you don't have the resources or the tools to able to deliver it. If we ask her now what would be a better way, she would have to take some time. She might get there, but she'll take some time because it's not her natural way of talking. So when you get pulled up on it, you're going to have to surrender to be able to hear the point that someone's bringing. Okay. Now, this body language here is very powerful. Look what he does. This is what a secure person will do, because what they're trying to do is make sure they're not trying to get into a beef. And what's really powerful is that he comes down to her level. He's on the same eye gauge level. He's leaning over the counter, yes, and he's just it's not showing any overt aggression. It's showing straight away that I just want to have a conversation, and it's very important because what that's doing is that it doesn't alert other people in the group that there's something necessarily wrong. Right? Some other people might have handled this incorrectly. If you're not secure, you might have handled this like, "Yo, let's talk outside." You know what I mean? You want to stoop low, nothing. Hey, let's go outside now. And that would have been instantly the way that, that we instantly trying to, charge the person. And everybody else would know. Okay? All right, cool.
So, come on.
All right.
Things that you're doing, the way that you're acting, is just weird to me. I really didn't.
I want to pause it here because this is another good thing. If you are, and this is for anybody in general, if you are about to have an argument with your partner, sit your ass down. And the reason why you sit down is because most arguments that are sat down, whilst they do get a little bit heated, they usually don't have the same effect from when you're standing up. When you stand up, people start talking reckless, blood. Yeah? Well, you ever try to talk reckless when you're sitting down? You can, but you ain't going to stay down for very long. You know what I'm saying to you? So when people usually talk reckless, they usually are standing up because they're already in a fighting stance. But when you sit down, it kind of just simmers you down a little bit, starts the conversation at a particular level, and it's really important actually the way that you deal with a situation. So if you're ever in a relationship with somebody and it is going to get to an argument, just ask the person, "Hey, can we sit down and talk about this? Okay, can we sit down and talk about this? Can we have a conversation about this?" So that's really, really important as well. Okay, so this put him to the side, a very smart move in that space. Now, here is where the first mistake he makes, and when I say mistake, all I mean by this is where he can improve, and we can all improve. Because let me tell you this now, I would have done what he done, but I had to remember the training I've been going for the last 6 months with the Lord about how to handle situations. Okay, so I'm going to play the kit for you guys. If you hear the mistake, let me know. Type it in the chat. So we'll get a little interaction going, right? If you hear it, I want you to type in the chat what you felt could have been done better.
I really didn't appreciate the way that you talked to me. Like, you was bossing me around.
Okay, I'm bossy. My personality is bossy.
Like, I don't.
Okay, and I'm talking about from his perspective, not what she done, because we know what she's gonna do. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna play it one more time, so you can hear what he said, and you can tell me where you feel like you can improve on. I'm gonna show you.
I really didn't appreciate the way that you talked to me. Like, you was bossing me around.
Okay, I'm bossy. My personality is bossy.
Like, I don't need.
Okay. So taking her out of the equation. Now, of course, we don't get the full spec of the conversation. Okay, all right. We didn't get the full spectrum of the conversation. So I want to be very fair. He may have done this, he may not have done, we don't know, right? But when you start a conversation with somebody, when you want to address an issue, thank you very much. You can't start on a criticism. I'm going to be honest with you, and I know it's going to be hard for a lot of people. This is difficult because a lot of us, this is how we've been trained. When you want to address an issue with a loved one, somebody you care about, and I do this all the time sometimes, I have to do better sometimes, right? When you start off the conversation with immediately the criticism, what happens is the person instantly goes into defense mode. They are already there because the conversation has already started at a criticism, right? So one thing I've always said for you guys, and when I coach clients, is we should always start with a C, okay? We should always start with C. The first thing we start with, and I know some people might not like this, but I think it works. I think it works because it's important to understand that we're on the same team. when your boss calls you in, they'll let you know, hey, they'll do the same thing, sandwich method, okay? All right. So in that space, what needs to be done is you are supposed to drop the compliment first. So what could have been said was, hey, look, I'm really enjoying us spending time together. And, I love the fact we're in the kitchen and we're getting to bounce off each other and, we're cooking together. It's something something I look forward to. And I'm enjoying being able to spend time with you in this particular way. Right. Something that he says is important. Okay. And I'm saying that to start off because what we're doing is we are disarming. Because most people are not secure. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying to you? Most people are not secure. You know what I'm saying to you? They go straight for the kill. And it's natural because that's how most of us have grown up in a household. When you're dealing with secure people will let you know, hey, they will let you know. But what they also do is they preface the conversation because what they're doing is making sure that they are diffusing the they're diffusing the barrier that may come up. Okay, I hear you, X. I understand. Yes, many people won't see the problem with it. I didn't see the problem with it until I had to start coaching around this. When you're dealing with other people, you have to start coaching them in a way that actually begins to disarm some of the issues. A lot of times, what happens is you're just concerned about getting your point off, which is fine. But that's the whole point. If you're in a relationship, it is not about getting your point off. It is not about being right. It is about being understanding. So when we're trying to beget understanding, there's a way we have to enter the conversation. And that is the difficulty that a lot of people face because what they're thinking about is I'm right in how I'm responding now. You've mistreated me. I get to say how I want to say. And what you don't realize is you must protect every conversation. Bar this being a situation where her life is in danger or your life's in danger or she's literally off the rails in front of people, then that might be different. Okay, so I'm not saying that she's right and he's right. What I'm trying to get you to understand is when we address people, preface it first off with the compliment. Thank you for taking the time to have a conversation with me. Okay, or thank you. And again, it's tough. It's tough because again, you feel how you feel, and actually, that's the sign. If you feel it's tough, that is actually the sign that this is working. That is a sign that it's actually working. If you get to a place where you're like I have to think about now going away then you are in a good place because what you're doing is you are now thinking about your response. Okay. Now, could it have stopped her being? Defensive? No, she might still be that. Okay. She might still be defensive. It's not a guarantee that someone's going to be less defensive. What I'm trying to do is put the process in place so that we get this right. So it's not always a guarantee. I'll be honest with you. It's not always a guarantee. Okay. It's not always a guarantee, but it is something that can be very helpful to disarm the immediate response that can end up happening. So that's why I pointed it out to say that what he said wasn't necessarily rude. It wasn't anything bad, but when you want to address something because you're looking for understanding, not to be right, then it's really important that you just address that point. So let's play a little bit more.
Bossing me around.
Okay, I'm bossy. My personality is bossy.
Like, I don't need your personality to be bossy because you're not my boss.
Okay, so now we are in a place, right, where we're now going to be in an argument. And this is really important. Again, they didn't really get that hyped, but this is really important for us as well. When you know the conversation is going to be tough, you need to preface the conversation. If you know the conversation is going to be a hard conversation where you are about to let somebody know about their behavior, you need to preface the conversation. The reason why you need to preface the conversation is so that they are also ready for what's about to come, and also so that rules of engagement are also put across. And this is something for best practice. When you say, listen, I want to be able to have a real conversation, but before we do, first and foremost, just want to let you know, when we have these kind of conversations, I want to be understood. So the way I want to be understood is just making sure that if I'm talking, I don't want to be interrupted. If you're talking, I'm not going to interrupt you. I want to make sure that we are having a place of understanding. So if I finish my point, what I would like for you to just able to summarize, just so that we know on the same level and we're on the same plane. Now, this sounds like it's tedious, and it probably is when you first start doing it, but anything you start doing brand new that you haven't done before will always sound tedious and always sound difficult. So it's important that you preface the conversation so you can set the rules of engagement so that you can also the person, because what's going to happen now is she interrupts. And the reason why she interrupts is because there's no rules of engagement. And this is not the first time. She did the exact same thing the last time. When they were talking about her doing yoga, and I'm going to talk about the yoga situation in a second too after, she did the exact same thing. See, when you don't preface the conversation, when you don't set the tone, sometimes people go along what their rules are. So because people have dealt with issues on their own in a different way, they've done it this way. So that's why they will not see any problem with it. If her interrupting you, you may say, oh, you're being rude. But the thing is, she doesn't know the rules of what you engage with. Maybe in her household, this is what it is. And this is also why, again, I'm talking about prefacing it. Many of us don't have to preface conversations because in our household, that's how we argue. I say it, you say it, I say it, we say it. Are we tired? All right. But we want productivity in our conversations and we want understanding. You know what I'm saying to you? So, again, I'm going to go back to the fearful avoidant in a second as well because I want to be able to break that down. But this is really important because we need to break down what's happening. Okay? All right? So.
Bossy. My personality is bossy.
Like, I don't need your personality to be bossy because you're not my.
Now, let's pause it again. Her immediate response, okay? Her immediate response to him saying that she is bossy, okay, is, I am, is that boss is my personality, right? That's what she said. Boss is my personality. Immediately, she went into a defensive stance because she felt like she was being accused. And in that place, as soon as she felt accused, she said, "It is just me." And almost like you got to accept it. You got to take it or leave it. It's me. Right? And the reason why she's doing that is because actually she's afraid of what's about to happen next. Because if you're criticizing her, then her shield of perfectionism is now being torn. And if her shield of perfectionism is being torn, now the real her is being seen. The mask is going to be seen. And if he sees me underneath the mask, he won't like me. This is the biggest fear of fearful avoidance. Their fear is if you see them underneath the mask, underneath the servitude, underneath the I'm so nice, I'm so pleasant, I'm so loving, I'm so caring, I'm so this. Once you get past all the baloney and you actually see them for what they really are, they're afraid they'll be rejected, abandoned, or betrayed. So she has to fight her corner because she can't allow the mask to come off. So she's got to tell you, that's just me. That's my personality. It is what it is. I've always been that way. You have to accept me for who I am. Okay? You have to accept me for who I am.
I don't need your personality to be bossy because you're not my boss. The fact of the matter is, I just don't like it. Like, just like you're all about energies or whatever, I'm about energies too. And you threw me off. I was like,
now pause it here. Now I'm going to be a little bit I'm going to be a little bit sticky again because, like I said, I want to teach my audience how to be able to really have these kind of conversations, right? I always say this, that there should be a process to the way that you're going to deliver your emotions and your feelings. And I feel like we're slightly flouting that, just according to my way of dealing with things. When I tell my clients to do this, I feel like there's a bit of a flouting of that. Here's why: because we've talked about her being bossy, etc. And at this point, we're not really hearing how that's really affecting him, right? At this point, we're not. He does say a little bit later on about how he feels disrespected. He didn't say that. She summarized it. But we're not really hearing how this actually affects him. And the reason why this is very important is because we need to teach people about how their behavior actually impacts us. So the reason why I'm saying this is after we've done compliment and then we discuss their behavior. So let's say, when you say certain things in a particular tone, it comes off as you trying to boss me. First and foremost, he said that she is bossy, rather than saying, it feels like you're bossing me around. That's two different things, by the way. I want to make it very clear. That's actually why arguments actually happen a lot of times. If you say somebody is versus how they make you feel, you are going to have an argument, more than likely. If I say you're a condescending person, the person will be like, I'm not condescending. Right? They immediately want to fight you back. So again, this is going back to best practice and some of the toughest things to do, that when we talk about these things, it's a behavior, yes, but it's how you made me feel. Because it may not be that, but of course, we can see it and we feel like she is bossy and she admits it. But I'm just saying, when you address it, it's that way. Because when you say, okay, what he can say is, when you spoke to me in that particular tone, or when you said those particular words, when you said get the chips, when you said, don't put the sweetness on the salsa, this made me feel like you're trying to boss me around. This is really important, because if you label the other person, they're forced to fight. Oh, they're going to fight. Because who wants to be labeled? Do you get what I'm saying to you? Nobody wants to be labeled. And that will instantly cause a person to be more defensive again. So we have to say that we describe what happened. Let's say, for instance, when you spoke to me like that, in that particular tone, it felt like you were trying to boss me around. This is the important part. It felt like that. That's what's important. If you say it is that, you are going to cause issues. And you might win today's battle, but there's going to be a hell of a lot more battles that you're probably going to end up winning too, doing that way, but you're going to end up losing the war. And I'm here to win the war, not the battles. Okay? So we have to say it felt like that. Okay? All right? Because again, exactly, I said, we don't know what the person's intention is. But by saying you are bossy, you're saying not only is there impact, you know what their impact is, which is, by the way, you do, because you already know their impact. Now you're saying you know their intention. And that's something you don't want to do, because if you always tell someone what their intention is, you're going to always have bad thoughts towards them, because you're always going to say they're doing it on purpose. They're trying to hurt me. They're trying to do this, trying to do that. And who wants to be in a relationship like that? Nobody does. Okay? So that's really, really important. Let's play a bit more.
One, you never talk to me like that, and it was in front of people. I don't want people to perceive you to be a certain type of way.
I am who I am. I'm working through.
Oh, then I want you, like, that's
you
fine.
are who you are. Like,
okay, so now, as he said, obviously, as well, like, he made a point, again, and this is something that someone said to me, and I had to work on it. Sometimes you talk too much, and you know what I mean? Like, and I realized, you know what, I can, because I'm always trying to explain something, but it's because sometimes you get lost in the point of how you feel rather than sticking to the process. If you stick to the process, you're able to get there, right? The CBEC process will get you there. But as he says, right, in the situation that he felt like even that she spoke also in front of people, this is the second point. It's not the same point. I want to make it very clear. This is not the same point. It's a second point. And actually, that's the difficulty. That's really the difficulty, because sometimes you've been putting all your points into one. They're not the same point. They are all a part of your frustration. They are not the same point. This is why you actually have to sit down and process how you feel before you get into a conversation. Because at that point, he's now made 2 points, but we have not had the process for both points. We've only had the process for one. Right? So I'm not even saying that he's out of pocket or that he's rude or disrespectful. No. I'm not saying all those things. What I'm saying is best practice for you, for if we see him, this should be your marker as to how you're going to handle future conversations. Because actually, it was more than 1 point. The second point is the way you spoke to me, the way that you spoke to me in front of the people, right? When you said X, Y, and Z, it felt like I was being disrespected. I felt disrespected in that particular moment. Because when you said what you said, it was in front of the people, right? And when I feel disrespected, I don't feel like I want to be connected. You see, and the part that's missing here, we don't know what that means for him. We know he feels disrespected. We know he feels some type of way. Okay? But what does that mean? Do you get what I'm saying to you? What does that mean? Like, in terms of your behavior, what does that mean? And that's the part I'm saying that is missing from it. Because whenever you explain to somebody that, okay, you're being rude to me, it's hurtful what you're doing, the next part that most people miss is how then they are affected by that. When you're rude to me, when you say something and it sounds rude to me, I now feel like I don't want to be in this conversation. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do the cooking anymore. I don't want to, spend time with you. There is a natural reaction to what happens to you. And when you explain that, you are explaining the baseline so that people can know in future, oh, I see. She has told me before, or he's told me before. Okay. All right. that when you do this, that, this is what happens to me. So important. That's why I said CBEC is important. When you talk about the compliment, you disarm. When you talk about the behavior, you're being specific. And then you talk about the emotion and how it made you feel. And then you talk about the explanation. Now, how it made you feel, what did it make you want to do, or what did it make you do? I now wanted to separate myself. I want to give myself space. Right? And then, you know what I'm saying to you? So that the person knows what they're seeing.
It's fine.
Are you?
Okay,
What do you
let
mean
me
by
finish.
that?
Let me finish.
Let me get my drink real quick and just go ahead and say what you need to say.
I don't need a boss in a relationship. I don't need that. I need a partner.
So, of course, at this point in time, they're talking about, obviously, I don't need a boss in a relationship. That's not what I need. And we can see that, obviously, our good sis here is in the, she's in the trenches right now, okay? Because all she's hearing is how wrong she is, okay? Now, this necessarily can't always be avoided because in reality, the person is personalizing what's being said. Okay, so this aspect of what's being said, like I said, her chink in her armor is that perfectionism is being questioned. And what does that mean for her? It's something that's going to be scary because again, she's having to protect herself. That's all she's doing. She's protecting herself. Okay, she's protecting herself. Now, here's what's going to get interesting.
Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to boss you. I don't give a daggone about the food. I
I'm
don't
not
give a
talking
damn
about
about
that
the food.
Pass. Now we're at a point where Alicia now comes out of her space and she now begins to discuss the situation. But unfortunately, she has missed the mark. She's addressing the food and it's not about the food. She said, I don't care about the food. This isn't about the food. It's about your tone and how he felt disrespected and certain words that you said. And so, unfortunately, why this becomes very difficult, especially for fearful avoidance, is because they're already starting to feel like you're slipping away, and they feel like they're about to lose you. So now they're fighting. It doesn't look like that to you. It looks like you're being attacked, but they're fighting. They're fighting. They are fighting because they're afraid now. And one of the ways they fight sometimes is to, unfortunately, gaslight, number one. But number two, what they can do is what we call deflection, okay, and then flipping it onto you. And the reason why they're deflecting and flipping it onto you is because what they're looking for is grace. But they don't realize that this is not about leaving you. But because their fear of being abandoned, rejected, or betrayed is about to kick off, they're missing the idea of what's actually happening. And so because of their fear, this is a response out of that space, they're now trying to flip it onto you because if you're also making mistakes, how can you get onto me? So that's the thinking. It's very quick. Because they come from a place of trauma. So you have to understand that, right? It's very, very quick. How this happens. Okay? It's very, very quick how it happens. Now she's flipping it onto him because now if you're not perfect, how are you calling me out the way you're calling me out? Right?
You're completely missing the point.
It was about my tone and you felt disrespected and I apologize. Do you think that this...
Now pause it right there. She said it's about my tone and about my what I said, and if you feel disrespected, I apologize. Did you notice that none of the time when she apologized, she even looked in his eyes? Her issue is intimacy. She has a problem with intimacy. Okay? And the reason why she has a problem with intimacy with other people is because she's not intimate with herself. Fearful avoidance struggle to look at themselves in the mirror, and that's the problem. Because they don't look at themselves in the mirror, and let me give you an example of what that means when you say look in the mirror. That means, have you ever looked at yourself naked in the mirror? That's vulnerability. When you stand in front of a mirror and you look at yourself in the mirror, do you like what you see? Tell me what you see when you look at me. When you look at, like, how many of you guys have actually looked at yourself naked in the mirror recently? Don't answer that in the chat. You don't need to. Okay? All right? That is another aspect of actual vulnerability. When you can look at yourself naked in the mirror and you can stare at yourself and you look at yourself and you're comfortable and you feel comfortable, yeah, you're probably going to be somebody who's going to be very vulnerable. When you're the kind of person that looks at the mirror and go, oh, let me get out of this. I don't want to stay in the mirror too long. And then you start picking yourself, start touching yourself, start pressing yourself, start doing all these things. You're not comfortable. You're not comfortable. And that's the biggest issue. You're not comfortable. And because she's not comfortable with her own intimacy, right? She now has to flip it onto you. She can't be comfortable with your intimacy. Okay? So she's not looking at him as she says it because there is shame and guilt that is attached to that. Whether she likes him or not actually isn't the issue here. It's the way she deals with actual issues. She is she's unable to look at him because there is attachment of shame and guilt to it. To look at somebody in the eye would mean that you have to connect. To connect, I'd have to be emotionally present. To be emotionally present, I've also got to accept that I have feelings when I look at you. And that doesn't mean I have feelings of liking you, but feelings in terms of I may not be comfortable with what's just happened.
Not going to be conflict in a relationship
No,
with
it's,
somebody.
yeah, but
Like,
not
let's
like,
be
but
real here.
Okay, let's pause it. Look what's going to happen. Okay, all right. I want to pay attention to what's happening here.
A relationship
no,
with
it's,
somebody.
yeah, but
Like,
not
let's
like,
be real
but
here.
at the same time,
Hold on.
Apologize.
Sorry.
Do you think that there's not going to be conflict in a relationship
no,
with
it's,
somebody?
yeah, but
Like,
Now, the question she asks about, do you not think there's going to be conflict in a relationship between two people? This is actually a fearful response. The reason why she's saying this is now, it's like, she's like, am I going to be pulled up every single time I make mistakes? Am I going to be pulled up every time I make a mistake? And here's why. She doesn't feel safe. She feels like her mistake is about to rule her out of the situation. Yes, there is some aspect of gaslighting in there. Okay? There is some aspect of gaslighting in, yes. With any of the insecure attachments, there's usually some kind of manipulation that's happening, right? People don't like to call it out. And, when you go to therapy places, they'll tell you, oh, no, they're not being manipulative. I will tell you on this channel, a lot of you are manipulative. You have manipulative traits because you aren't defending yourself. So you may not be necessarily trying to hurt the other person, but a lot of y'all have manipulative traits. I have some myself. So when I see it, I'm like, you're manipulating me. Okay, I'm going to call it out. Okay? All right? I'm going to call it out. I'm not going to pretend with your ass. But she asked this question about, do you not think there's going to be a conflict in a relationship? And she's missing the point again. It's not about whether there is going to be conflict in a relationship. That's not what he's talking about. He's saying that your behavior in this situation is an issue. And here's why she's doing this. Because in reality, she's afraid. She's afraid. And she's afraid because it's like, am I going to be pulled up every single time? Because here's the thing about fearful avoidance. They don't feel like they can meet the mark. So when their behavior is pulled up, what they're really afraid of is, I don't know if I can meet the mark. And that's what makes them afraid. Okay? That's what makes them afraid. So because fearful avoidance struggle with self-esteem, them being asked to meet a particular standard, it actually condemns them. And I'm not saying you shouldn't tell them a standard, by the way. You should. Boundaries are boundaries. But because the fearful avoidance starts to measure themselves against a standard, they have self-esteem issues. So when you mention a standard, they feel like they aren't going to be able to meet the standard. They're probably going to make another mistake and another mistake. And what they're afraid of is, if there's no grace, there's no room to make mistakes, what's the point? What's the point? They're like, I'm gonna fail again. So what's the point? And so that question about there's always conflict. It's almost to say, like, is this always happening? Okay.
Like,
not
let's
like,
be
but
real here.
at the same time, this is our time to get to know each other.
Right.
And like,
So you think that there's never going to be conflict?
no, I don't.
Now listen, look, watch how she has shifted the goalpost. The conversation was never about not having conflict. I know that people think that she's, and listen, it can be manipulation too, right? It can be manipulation too. It's all a self-defense mechanism, which plays itself as a manipulation. Okay, all right. But what she's actually doing right now, okay, when she says, so she's shifting the goalpost, and the reason why she's shifting the goalpost is actually because she's trying to find answers for herself. This ain't even about him no more. I want you to understand what's happening. This is not even about him anymore. This is about her safety. Okay? This is about her safety. And because she feels afraid, she's trying to find answers that are going to reassure her. I'll prove that to you because the video clip's going to go there in a second or two. But the reason why she's asking that particular question, saying, so you don't think there's going to be conflict? Did he say that? Did he ever say there isn't going to ever be conflict? No. What he did is he pulled you up on the way that you're behaving. And you got pulled up, and now you're trying to shift the goalpost because you don't like being told off, because it doesn't make you feel good. And when you don't feel good, you're afraid because you are now trying to mind read about how if I'm not happy with you, that means he's going to abandon me. Here's why: because a fearful avoidant has experienced that being in a household where the tension was high, or there was an argument, or there was some level of disagreement or disappointment, this would lead to abandonment, rejection, or betrayal. So for the fearful avoidant, they don't like environments that are not. It's funny because there's a paradox happening here. They don't like environments where they get into an argument because the fear is you will betray me, or you abandon me, or you reject me. Okay. Or the other aspect is that, and the other aspect is that whilst there is calmness, they create more chaos because they're used to the chaos. Right. So that self-sabotage is that cycle. It's like if they don't have the chaos, they're going to create the chaos. And when there is chaos, they're afraid of the chaos because the chaos means they're going to be left, abandoned, or betrayed. So this is why fearful avoidance has to start taking a hold of the narrative to change what's actually happening. Okay. So the argument was never about, aren't we going to argue again? That's not the issue. But she's trying to find reassurance now from, are we never going to argue again? And he's going to say, well, no, I don't believe that. Of course not. Then it's like, so then why are you making a big issue of it? She's about to avoid. You know what I mean?
I don't want that type of conflict.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's going to be some type of
I
conflict.
don't want that attitude. Though. It's that like you're saying.
Not perfect.
I'm not perfect, but like.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And that's where she got to. Okay? All right? You know why she did that? Because she's angry. Okay? The reason why she's doing that now is because she's angry. And she's angry because she's afraid. She's scared because now he's not budging. He's not budging. So what's happened is she's trying to use that question. She tried to use that question to redirect things. And he said, listen, I don't, because this is what she heard. Okay? He said, I don't want that kind of arguments. What she heard was, he don't want me. He don't want me because I'm probably gonna have more of these. I probably have more issues with myself. I probably have more things that I do wrong. He don't want me. That's what she's hearing, right? And when someone starts hearing that they're about to be left, the behavior comes out. So what is she gonna do? She has to flip it again. Oh, you're not perfect. Okay, you're not perfect. And what does that mean if he's not perfect? Well, then you can't just call me out and say these things because you're not perfect too. Really, what's underneath that is that I'm afraid of being left. Okay? All right.
Like, I'm just telling you, I don't have to be accepting of that like all the time. You're not. This is a team, remember?
Mm-hmm. If we both establish that we don't have intentions to harm each other, which is why it is.
Okay, so actually, it got to a really good place in the conversation. You know, I don't know how they got here because they edited it, obviously. Where he said, and he made a good point actually as well. He said, "Listen, that's not how I want things to be done. We are a team." It's a really powerful thing to do. By the way, anybody who's having an argument with somebody, you know, if you've got love for them and you appreciate them, let them know that you are a part of the team. This is a team thing, and you want to see us win. This will reassure people within the confinements of a conversation, because a lot of times people, especially avoidance, see conflict as a bigger thing than it actually is, because they're always afraid of being abandoned or neglected. So for avoidance specifically, and even anxious people do this as well, because again, they will try to cling. But whenever they have a conflict, they're immediately thinking separation's happening. Separation is about to take place. And remember, the whole point of attachment is all about separation anxiety. Okay. Now, the biggest issue, and this is a good point, what someone just put in there, right? Because what this is about with fearful avoidance, when it comes to intention, remember, fearful avoidance, while they sat, and this is the paradox again for fearful. A lot of reasons why fearful avoidance struggle is because there's a lot of paradoxes within their minds, right? So, as she just said something, I'll play the clip so you actually know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
We don't have intentions to harm each other, which is why it is important to move slow for me. That's why it isn't.
Okay, so she mentioned about not having the intentions to hurt each other. Fearful avoidance don't want to hurt people. They're normal people like anybody else, okay? They don't have the intention to necessarily hurt you, okay? But one thing that they will push and they will fight for is to say, that was not my intention. That's not my intention. That's not my intention. When they do something wrong, they're more concerned about that is not their intention, even though they don't realize that it doesn't matter about the intention, more about the impact. But again, the reason why the intention is important for them is because of what they experienced in childhood. In their childhood, they probably might have been blamed, or they took responsibility for their parents' behavior. They had to own it and had to personalize their parents' abuse of them in some shape or form. So by doing that, they felt like the bad person, right? In order to absolve their parents of being the wicked witches of the West, they had to absolve it and they had to ingest it themselves to say, it's me who's caused this, in order to make sense of what's actually happening. So when they do that, the biggest fear they have is when you call them out, not only are they going to be judged, but you're going to say that they're a bad person, even though they're going to tell you they are a bad person. And what they're going to next tell you is, see, I told you I was a bad person. When they do something wrong, instead of actually owning up and being accountable, they will tell you, see, I told you I was a bad person. What they're starting to do is sifting almost for they're sifting for almost like the pity and the sympathy, right? Rather than actually being accountable and addressing the issue. And the reason why is because in their world, conflict was never resolved. How can it be if you've been abused? How can it be? How can it be if if you've never resolved conflict in your household, but you're more abused or neglected or abandoned? You don't know anything. You don't know how to resolve an issue. You don't know what resolution looks like. So intention for them is a massive thing for fearful avoidance.
Important to establish a good friendship between us,
Right.
because we are both very emotional people. Can I hold your hand? Right? We working through the conflict.
All right, beautiful stuff. Now we'll come to the last part. Okay, this is really, really important, this last aspect as well. Okay, we are talking about repairing a relationship. Okay, repairing a relationship. I want you to understand this as well. Okay, repairing a relationship is paramount to getting your relationship back on track. It's very important as well, because when you repair a relationship in this situation, you are trying to connect back again. Now, the difficulty of this situation is this. For insecure attachments, when they're repairing a situation, is to ask for consent. Let me say it again. The difficulty of this situation is that you wanting to repair the situation needs consent. Why? Let me tell you why. When you want to repair the relationship physically, so for instance, you want to touch somebody, there needs to be consent. Let me tell you this now. You can come and tell your partner and say, listen, thank you for hearing me out. I know I've said some things, you said some things, and I just want to just let you know, I want to reassure you, I'm still in this, I'm still with you. That's fine as a repair, because a person can take it and still process it. You're not forcing them to spend time with you. The repair, though, is an issue when you start to impose yourself and any kind of shape or form. And that doesn't mean you're doing it aggressively. Her grabbing his hand is a good idea. It's a great idea. The problem with holding his hand is, if he's not ready to repair the relationship, he's now forced to try and hold your hand. And so if you are repairing the relationship with your partner, whilst it may be a great idea to hug them, give them a kiss on the cheek, to grab their hand, to, pick them up or whatever, blah, 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 best practice is to, before you physically do anything with them, is to ask first and foremost, are you good? Because I feel like I'm in a better place, okay? And I want to hold your hand if you're comfortable. This needs to be done because you don't have a baseline for each other yet. And even if you do, you may still do this, but you don't have a baseline for the person just yet. So when you go to repair, it's a good thing. You should repair, right? But you need to be aware that the repair can't be forced. So she wants to repair the relationship. And this is where it's going to be really important. Fearful avoidance, dismissive avoidance, anxious people. they're going to struggle in this area. Let me tell you why, okay? They're going to struggle because here's what's going to happen. The repair sometimes isn't for the other person. It's about you. And that's what makes it selfish. Sometimes people are repairing the relationship because you feel so anxious in your spirit, you can't take another second of you not being on good terms with your partner. I know, I've been there, so I know. Okay, you're not comfortable with there being some silence. You're not comfortable with them saying, give me some time to process it. You're not comfortable with them saying, you know what, I'm not ready to talk about this right now. You're not comfortable with that. So you're going to force the repair. Yes, afraid of rejection, afraid of abandonment, afraid they might go out and betray you. Okay? And in that instance, what you're doing is you're not allowing the finishing of this conversation. Someone said, yes, hush, you know, so we can move forward, right? You're finishing the conversation early without really fully fleshing it out because you're afraid now. You're like, okay, you know what? I'll just give in. I'll be okay. And fearful avoidance is a lot, right? But they would say things like, okay, it doesn't really matter. Don't worry. Let's just make up. It's okay. It's cool. And it's because they're getting tired because they don't think that their needs are going to be met. They don't think that their needs or their wants are going to be met. They're afraid they're going to be betrayed or they're going to be hurt, so they have to repair the relation quickly. That's the anxiousness coming through, right?
Conflict, right?
Yeah.
So that means we don't.
I know.
Right.
I know.
Do we show love and affection?
Yes,
right?
we do. But like,
now she's obviously holding his hand and she's saying we show love and affection. Da 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 da. Now, if this was a true repair, she should be able to handle what's about to happen next. But because again, the repair isn't about them. It's about her and how she feels. And she doesn't feel emotionally safe. And a lot of people don't feel emotionally safe. So now they're offering the repair. Oh, some of you don't hold somebody's hands. Some of you went to cook a meal. So, you know, some of you ladies, you know what I'm talking about. You went to cook a meal. Some of you offered sex. Let's talk about it. We want to go there? Let's go there. Let's go there. Some of you, you're going to cook a meal as a way of saying sorry and because you don't want the person to leave you. Or you're going to offer your body as a way of kind of a recompense to repair the relationship, right? Or you buy them a gift. You're doing something that is trying to get them to repair the relationship. And they may not be ready to repair the relationship. And when they say no, you're going to take it offensively. Or sit on his lap. Yes. Oh, listen, that's a beautiful one, else said. That one there, that's a major one. And they start talking, baby, you know, I just love you. And they got the arm wrapped around you. Baby, you know I love you. That. Talking to you like a damn baby. Not allowing you time to process how you really feel. Right? Really important. If you're one of those people who do those things, just be aware. Okay? Just be aware. Some of y'all are doing that, and I know you are. And this is her version of doing that. Okay?
I'm listening.
I need you to let it marinate.
Need to marinate.
Yeah, just let it marinate a little bit.
No.
Maybe.
You just took my hand off your hand because
right.
So he says, I need you to let it marinate. Why? Because he needs time to think. Okay? He needs time to think and he needs time to process what has just happened. He's not fully there yet. Is that a bad thing? No. He's been honest. He's been true. He's letting you know that at this point in time, this is my boundaries. Okay? Now, she's about to be upset because she felt like she got rejected. Now, I don't think this is necessarily manipulative, but it can be looked at as that because now it's going to be flipped back onto her and her emotions and how she feels.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
I am overwhelmed in this moment with emotion in my body because I'm here to date Ervin. But
so now she's in a crying bag. Look, I can't lie to you. Yeah, I've been here, bro. I've been here, fam. I tell you, I've been here. So I know what this looks like. I've been here. But yeah, so now she's doing the whole crying act, you know, and now look what's happened. He now has to consult her. He hasn't been rude. He hasn't been disrespectful. He hasn't done anything else. And now she's using the crying act. Now he's using the crying act and he's using the tears act on the situation to try and get him to care about her because she doesn't feel like he cares about her. So she's going to use the tears to manipulate him to care.
But there's a disconnection around our communication. I feel like he's giving up in the conversation.
I was trying to bring peace.
And that's the fear. She feels like he's giving up on her, and that is why she is now trying to make, her tears fall. That's the manipulation. If all else fails, you cry because that will make him care about you. So instead of actually being honest and just speaking from her heart, she's now using passive aggressive means. Okay. All right.
Peace, right?
Okay, well, that's fine.
And
But
you
like,
just took my hand out of your
cuz
hand.
I wasn't
like
ready
you-
for it right now.
Okay.
Then and there.
Okay.
I want him to understand me. I want us to get through this.
I've been here. This won't get better unless you institute boundaries. You have to be very strong with it. Okay. So until you have to give people like this very strong boundaries and let them know that certain behavior is not going to work with you and it's not going to run. I'm definitely here for you, and I'm definitely here to try and help you through this moment. But I this for me as point, it's all about what my feelings are, and that's what a secure person does. He didn't cave in. He still let her know at the end.
Communication snafu, so him pulling away hurts.
Hugging me now.
So him pulling away. Where did he pull away? Where did he pull away? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the last buck of the drop. Because where did he pull away? He didn't pull away. He just simply let her know certain behavior doesn't work with her. That's what you know the fear is. He's like, he's pulling away. I can feel him pulling away. But when did he pull away? He didn't. Okay? She didn't. And you're right, nosy nurse. She did not say she would try to do better. That's very true. Okay? Now, my last thing on this is, because this goes back to the yoga situation. For those who are fearful avoidant, you know me already. For those who are fearful avoidant, that yoga situation where she went to yoga with someone else was a test. I know people ain't gonna like it, but I'm gonna say it. Okay? The yoga situation was a test. When she decided to go yoga with somebody else, another man, after he had already asked her to go to yoga that morning, that was her testing him. Okay? So she wanted to see what was his reaction going to be. Is he going to fight for me? Is he going to be angry and cuss me out? She was testing him to see what reaction she would get out of him, because fearful avoidance oftentimes test the people that they're with because they're afraid and because they're trying to see what boundaries are going to be put in place or how far they can push the boundaries. Because again, their environment that they grew up in was chaos. So when he explained that to her, she still flipped it onto him. But she was testing him. Because there's no way that your partner told you, okay, that they wanted to do yoga that morning, and then you just forgot conveniently and did it with not another girl, another man. Damn. That was her testing him. That was her testing him. How would he respond? How would he get angry? Would he shout and scream? Would he call me out? What's he going to do? So I can know it's a safe environment. And then she did it again. Because at the very end, when she says, I don't feel safe. Why? Because I called you out? Of course it doesn't feel safe. Because I'm calling you out. And so now, what you're going to have and that's why I said that he's going to have to, if he wants to make this work, he has to follow that route of the CBEC. You can't do the normal conversation with somebody who has attachment issues like this because they're always reading it personally. So if you don't disarm them first and let them know in a particular way, it'll always be a case of them trying to push away. And that's why we always fight for understanding rather than to be right. We try to get the person to see that this is about us as a team, but it's also about, us growing and seeing things in a different light. Okay. This man has spoken calmly and smoothly to her, or, weak, and she still has not been able to you know, respect that in a way, you know? It's crazy. All she had to do was just, and I'm gonna play the clip for you guys so you guys can see it. All right, the last bit. All right, about the testing that she did. Okay, let's just play a little bit of clip so you can see. Okay.
I've been asking you to meditate, do yoga and stuff. I did want to do yoga together. You want to do yoga tomorrow?
Not necessarily. I want to wake up whenever my body
Tells you.
calls me.
Okay, so he asked her to do yoga in the morning. She says, "No, not really. I want to wake up whenever I want to do it." So instead of her just saying as well after, you know what, I don't want to do it in the morning, but maybe I can do it in the nighttime. Maybe I can do it later on when my body feels better. She didn't offer no change, right? She didn't offer no change. Now, you know what I'm saying to you? So now she gets an idea in her head. She gets an idea in her head.
Yeah.
Like just to see you just do it on the fly for somebody else, it's offensive to me.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's like
You're walking away.
Oh, I didn't realize that. She definitely did. One thing about fearful avoidance, like I said, you have to call them out on their bullcrap. Because listen, them dismissive avoidance, they are on some bullcrap. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not here to be like the other therapists because I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach. Dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance are always on some bullcrap. And I'm not saying that you have to always, but there are certain times where you can't pretend you don't know. You know what I'm saying to you? If I told you I wanted to go yoga the day before, and you say you don't want to go for it no more, and then you go yoga with somebody else, right? And I come and tell you that your first thing is, I am so sorry. You know what? I forgot. I actually did forget. My bad. I am so sorry. You'd be very apologetic. When people are on their bullcrap, they don't be apologetic because they're on bullcrap. And that's how you know someone's testing you. Because the way that they respond after usually tells you whether they're testing you or not. Right? They should be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Do you know, I completely, someone who's genuinely like, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot. Like, I can't believe I even did that. I apologize. Look, let's set up a date for next week. My bad. I got it wrong. Someone who's trying to test you, they don't do that. Because they're testing how you're going to respond. And that's why you got to call them out.
we always talked about us being a team, but she just chose to do yoga with somebody else. That was inconsiderate. You know, it's like, it's a respect thing. Just felt weird. Like
you felt like I was servicing somebody else.
Exactly. That's how it comes across. You know what I'm saying? For me.
Now look at her face. Like she acting like she's shocked. Why are you shocked? Now it might be a Frankenbite because you know they always put their faces on what less being said. So you know.
Anyways,
Okay.
because
I'm sorry you saw it like that. It wasn't my intention to overserve somebody or whatever you're saying. I'm trying to apologize.
It's okay.
Pause. Okay, so first and foremost, when she says, you know, I'm sorry you saw it like that. What do you mean saw it like that? You know what I mean? That's how you know someone's on their bullcrap. I'm telling you, like they're on their bullcrap because sorry that you saw it like that. Wait, baby, did you or did you not go yoga? Did I not ask you or did I not ask you? Like this isn't one of those subjective things, right? See, if it was subjective, it would be like we had a conversation, I said something, and you know you took it that way. No. This actually is factual. Did you or did you not go yoga? So you went yoga, and I did definitely tell you, didn't I? And that's what I'm trying to tell you. That avoidance tend to do this, fearful and dismissive, where they gaslight you in that moment. Right? So to say, obviously, you know, oh, sorry, like, you know, sorry that you saw it that way. She's not really sorry. Like I said, this is the test.
Relax. Breathe.
I'm feeling completely drained today. I'm feeling like I'm being placed in all of these situations and being
And now every time they have a conversation and he doesn't like it, she like hyperventilating, whatever, and goes into an emotional state, and he's having to always calm her down. So that's now going to be a situation where he's always in the space of calming her down. Do you see the issue with that? You're always going to be trying to calm her down. That's a big issue.
understood right now.
You don't think that was a part of insecurity?
No, it's not. It's about like doing something like you didn't do for me. You caused it.
This is wild.
Oh, now it's wild. So, really and truly, what was the apology for? If you're about to now accuse of a person of insecurity, why were you apologizing? Because again, you're afraid of being abandoned, and you're afraid, and you're not only honest. You don't think you did anything wrong, and that's your biggest issue. You don't think you did anything wrong, and that's what I'm saying about sometimes when it comes to fearful avoidance or dismissive avoidance, not taking the time to really contemplate what's actually happening. She just wanted to just get past the situation. You can't get past it. You've done something wrong here. And what ends up, and this is why it contributes to the last conversation about not feeling safe, because what fearful avoidance tend to do is that they tend to now say, I don't feel safe, because you're getting called out on your bullcrap. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think you can go through life and be unaccountable? You can't. It doesn't work like that. Right? You're gonna be called out. And the reason why it's unsafe for them is because they also don't know your actual intentions. So for them, they're struggling to delineate between you and somebody who actually wants to hurt them. Like they're struggling to figure that out. Do you actually care or you want to hurt me? And that's actually one of the biggest issues of fearful avoidance too, that they struggle to tell between the two. So that's why they're acting the way they are, because they don't necessarily feel safe. They don't feel safer than themselves, and also because they're actually judging you, right? And now she flipped it by saying, you don't think it's a little bit insecure? Insecure where? I didn't even talk about you. I said that you were doing this to someone else.
It is wild.
We are not on the same page currently, and
Safe with your demeanor at the moment. I feel unsafe with your demeanor at the moment because you're still upset.
No. I know. I'm gonna step away because I don't want you making you feel unsafe.
Come here.
No. You said it.
She knew exactly what she did here. Okay. But the reality of the situation is now she said she felt physically unsafe. Okay. All right. She physically felt unsafe. Okay. Now, because of his demeanor. And here's the reason why. Because she's afraid that him being disappointed, it hurts. It does. One of the biggest fears and trigger points for any avoidant is when someone shows a level of emotion where where it feels like they may not like you. That's why they people please. Because they don't want to feel that feeling of you maybe being disappointed or you disliking them or you not being on their side. So they start feeling some type of way. Yeah, I feel unsafe now. Oh, you feel unsafe? Now, old boy said, okay, I respect it. I'm going to walk away. She's like, what do you mean? Wait, come back. Come back. Wait, what? You said you felt unsafe. What do you want me to be close for? But that's that hot and cold behavior again.
I said with your demeanor. Can we have the conversation once you
No, we can't.
calm
Let me
down?
calm down my demeanor for you.
All right.
It's all about your protection, right?
It's about both of our protection.
No, apparently not. I'm not one to just walk away from a conversation.
My goon said, no, it's not about me, but your protection. Okay, all right. And hey, so there's areas here that need to be worked on, right? And again, this is not simply just on her, because again, if you're about to get into a relationship with somebody who is a fearful avoidant, you're gonna need to know this to know how they're gonna handle it as well, and know how to handle them, right? Because there is going to be a need for them to allow them to expand and to grow, and you're going to have a lot of patience for them. And that's tough to say because not many of us have a patience. You're going to have some patience with them, because a lot of their behaviors at the beginning, when they do feel unsafe, can be looked at as manipulative or look like it's trying to hurt somebody. But really and truly, it's because they don't feel safe and they feel like they have to act that way in order to test you to see if you really are somebody who they can trust to be around, right? But they also need to learn to grow and to heal so that they are not doing those things. Okay? You're going to lose more people than you're actually going to gain if you're going to do that. Okay? All right. So, I think that was all that needs to be said. I appreciate you guys who've joined us on this video as well. Make sure you guys liking, sharing, and subscribing. And you click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you. And stay locked and stay loaded. We'll see you again very soon. Much love.